Hello and welcome to today's Standard Process webinar. Today's presentation is titled Week 2, the Weekly Purification Warrior Journey, and will be presented by Dr. Kimberly Besuden. My name is Tina and I will be moderating today's webinar. And now a brief disclaimer. Standard Process is sponsoring this webinar to provide healthcare information to healthcare professionals and consumers and to provide them with the opportunity to hear about the views, recommendations, and experiences of other healthcare professionals. Standard Process has not evaluated the legal status of any products other than its own or those of MediHerb's, services or recommendations with respect to state or federal laws, including scope of practice. Standard Process does not and cannot accept responsibility for errors or omissions or for any consequences from applications of the information provided and makes no warranty expressed or implied with respect to the information provided. The views expressed in this webinar concerning Standard Process, MediHerb, or any other products are those of the presenter and not Standard Process. Today we are happy to welcome Dr. Besuden to kick off today's webinar, Week 2, the Weekly Purification Warrior Journey. Dr. Besuden is a Doctor of Chiropractic and Certified Functional Medicine Practitioner. She has created several curriculums with innovative techniques to help not only her patients but also her colleagues better understand nutrition and its impact on well-being. The Standard Process 21-Day Purification Program is a passion of hers, and she's been teaching the program to healthcare professionals and patients for more than a decade. And with that, I'll hand the controls over to Dr. Besuden to begin today's presentation.
Well, congratulations. You've made it through the first week. Hopefully everybody started on Tuesday. I have some people kind of straggle and they kind of start officially on Wednesday. But we are really proud of you. Hopefully you're doing some weigh-ins to check your weight management along the way. In my practice, we have our patients weigh in each week before we start the class. That way we have some accountability for them, and it gives them a way to chart their progress. So for these next 14 days, you're going to have a little bit different protocol, and it's still designed to support your organs, especially the liver and gallbladder, because we got to prepare you for that new normal. And your digestive system is really getting to the point where it's better able to absorb your nutrients from your food you're eating. Now we're decreasing those refined sugars in your diet, and that also helps with weight management. It also helps the reduction of your cholesterol. So this week I want to talk about a couple different things, and I do these classes in conjunction with my other classes I teach here in Florida. Our weather's much warmer here, but you'll have to enjoy it from the warmth of your home right now. So we're going to talk about the change in the protocol for the week. We're also going to talk a little bit about protein, because guess what? Day 11, you get to add some animal protein if you so choose. We'll learn a little bit about refined sugar and why it's so detrimental to the body. And I'm also going to talk to you about a little bit about artificial sweeteners and why they're not a wise diet choice. And then we're going to talk about some, making sure you make some great meals with that purification cookbook you've got. All right, so the 1 degree of change is really just such a great phrase for the purification program, because each day you make a step closer to getting feeling better and sleeping better and doing better, and it's 1 degree, 1 step, 1 moment. Success may be just in that 1 degree, 1 step, 1 moment. So I applaud you. So you only have 2 more weeks. This is kind of an interesting place to be in the purification, because the first week may have been a little bit challenging for you because you're having to change some of the food you're eating, or you may have done this before and it was just like, oh, thank gosh, it's the beginning of the year and I can finally clean up my diet. But these last 2 weeks, it's always interesting watching my patients, because my patients will come to a point where they're like, oh, we only have a week left, because they really like the accountability of the purification, and it gives them a plan. And I find that patients that have a plan, have some accountability, do really, really well, and that's kind of the purpose of this 4-week program that we're doing for you. So I want to remind you to try to buy loyal and buy local, fresh and natural, always buy local. And I understand that those of you that are in Wisconsin and the northern states that may not have access to the local produce like we do the best you can. And then, the Standard Process was, founded by Dr. Royal Lee, who was an amazing visionary. And he, back in the day, he said, food always has been, and I suspect always will be, the ideal source of your vitamins, where they are surrounded by untold numbers of nutritional factors. And if you just look at that fresh fruit and vegetable down below, I mean, think about when you go to the grocery store. You don't pick up an apple. There's not a label on an apple because you know it's an apple. But if you pick up an apple snack, you have to read the package and see all the ingredients that are in there that don't even look like an apple. So days 8 through 14, so here's what we're going to have. If you look on page 11 of your patient guide, hopefully you have that handy. And if each week, if you can have your guide handy, I may refer to a couple pages in there. So it's still the same, unlimited fresh vegetables. Try to use as much organic as possible. You can't have corn, beans, or white potatoes right now, but you can have sweet potatoes. I mean, collard greens, kale, broccoli, beets, asparagus, artichokes, carrots, cauliflower. I mean, it just makes my mouth water talking about these vegetables. You can have salads with unlimited vegetables. Remember, no pre-made salad dressings. Make your own with a little bit of olive oil or some lemon or maybe some of the balsamic vinaigrettes that we talked about last week. But if you look at page 11 in your guide, you'll see that there are, there's so many vegetables there. There's something that everybody likes. And then on 8 through 14, days 8 through 14 also, your fruits, remember, one serving is 1 cup. But your rule, my number 1 rule, eat twice as many veggies as fruits. So you can have in the program guide on page 12, it shows the fruits in there, and you'll notice there's a little asterisk by the fruits, and that'll tell you the ones that are a little bit lower in sugar. So if you're trying to do your weight management, you want to stay with those fruits that are just a little bit lower in the sugar on the glycemic index. So I kind of reserve fruits for making shakes. And don't really eat any snack fruits because people get carried away with that. They buy some grapes and they eat the whole bunch of grapes instead of just eating a cup of grapes. So keep that in mind. Remember, you can have quinoa or lentils, 1 cup of the quinoa a day, or two half cups of the lentils per serving per day. And for me, we make up the quinoa at the beginning of the week, so we have it to just dish out. We have little dishes that are exactly a half a cup. And so we can dish that out on our plate. We can stir fry it with some veggies, and there's all different kinds of things you can do with that. Also, remember, you can still have your coconut oil, your extra virgin olive oil, flaxseed oil, grapeseed oil, and I would reserve the fish oil to your omega-3, the tuna omega oils that have the omega-3 fatty acids in. I'm not much on putting fish oil on my food, so that's only my preference. And then spring water, mineral water, you can have green tea or herbal tea. Remember, green tea, even though it has the caffeine in it, it's still high in antioxidants that I don't mind you having a little bit of that caffeine. And then remember, you want to drink at least 8 8-ounce glasses or half your body weight in ounces of water. That's kind of a guideline. Remember, when you drink a shake or you're eating vegetables, you will have all those, the water in those as well. So day 11, it's almost here. Give me some protein. So if you go to page 13 in the program guide, it'll kind of give you all your sources of protein. An average size is 3 ounces cooked. That's about the size of the palm of your hand. And you can have 2 to 4 servings per day with try and make 1 to 2 servings being fish. Fish, you want to try to stick with your salmon and your cod. And if you're going to use chicken, you want it to be organic. You want it to be free range, antibiotic, and hormone free when possible. Most of the stores are carrying that now. I know we have several, our regular market does, and we have several kind of organic markets that are available. Lean red meats, there's grass-fed and finished when possible. If you have access to wild game, any variety, that's awesome. So, be sure you take advantage of that. You can prepare it by either broiling it, baking it, roasting, or poaching it. Remember, you're not allowed to have the cured, smoked, or luncheon meats. There's too much garbage that goes into those, so we want to stay as pure as possible. And remember, my guideline for my patients is I recommend patients to have about half their body weight in grams of protein. This will give you that. And the first week, or the first 10 days without the protein, I think that helps your body to kind of process better. Protein takes a little bit more to process. Women were a little slower in our metabolism, so for my patients, what I see, and for myself, is that I try to do my protein more in the morning, excuse me, and at lunchtime, and then in the evening have more veggies, fresh veggies, and steamed veggies. So that may help a little bit. Remember, but the protein is really important because those are the building blocks of the amino acids in the protein are the building blocks for your muscle. So we want to make sure we have adequate protein in our diet. So now there's also a change in your supplement take this week. You only have to take 19 capsules. I mean, it's going to feel like you're missing something because you only have to take 19. So beginning day 8, which will be tomorrow if you started tomorrow, you still do your 2 to 3 SP Complete shakes per day, your 3 gastrofiber 3 times per day, that's 9 capsules, and then 5 SP Green Food capsules 2 times per day, 10 capsules per day total. And if your SP Cleanse, you should finish that up. You'll probably have about 3 capsules left over. Just toss them in on the next morning and add them into the bunch so you don't have to save 3 capsules. And what I personally do, and I suggest to my patients, because I would find I'd miss my 3 gastrofiber in the middle of the day, I split my gastrofiber up. So I had 5 gastrofiber in the morning with my 5 green food, and then I had 4 gastrofiber at night with my 5 green food. That made it easier because I kept catching myself missing my 3 capsules a day. So from 30 capsules to 19, it's going to feel like a whole new world. And the green food, remember, this is an important part. We worked really hard to kind of help get that liver functioning and supported better the first week with the SP Cleanse. Now the green food, for me, what I think of it as is to really kind of help continue the support in a different way for the liver and gallbladder. So it promotes a healthy liver function. It promotes antioxidant activity. It supports your overall cellular health. It helps to support your cholesterol metabolism and to help maintain those cholesterol levels that already are within a normal range. So once again, it's still helping to support that body's normal toxin elimination. So the ingredients, this is also great for my patients who have kids that don't like to maybe eat veggies, is to help support them with this. But this has got Brussels sprouts and kale, buckwheat, barley grass, alfalfa, and these are vegetables sometimes people don't really incorporate in their diet or they don't like. So this is a great way to get them in, and these are really, really important in helping to support the liver. So I really encourage you to, eat them as best you can, but this next 2 weeks, the green food will help to give you extra support in those realms. I mean, I don't know anybody that's going to go out and eat alfalfa, maybe some barley grass juice, but we have everything in one capsule, so you don't have to go find all your sources, especially if you're up north. The alfalfa is not blooming right now. And then exercise. Remember, exercise is, oh my gosh, it is so important, because most of my patients will say when they're on the purification, if they feel like they're having some constipation issues, if they feel like their weight management they should be losing more weight, or their weight management should be better during the purification program, most of the time it's because they're not exercising. Most of them sit at desks all day, and this is just a huge dilemma for our bodies, because our bodies are really designed to move. So you should be walking at least 4 times per week for 30 minutes. But for me, I really encourage my patients to do something every day for at least an hour. You can walk, you can do weight training, but I really like to get the walking because it really helps to help burn the body fat and help increase the metabolism. Yoga is also a great way to detoxify your lungs, and any strenuous exercise should be limited during the purification program. Use that to your discretion. If you've already been a strength athlete like myself, I don't really change my routine at all. But if you haven't been doing a strenuous exercise routine, don't all of a sudden start. So begin with walking, and then continue that as you go. When you're done with purification, then you can start adding more things in. So remember, your goal is to get 10,000 steps in a day. You want to use a pedometer, or there's an app on your phone to keep you accountable. I use something called the Withings Activité Pop, and it's a regular watch, but it records to my phone. But there's a plethora of things out there. So I'm sure most of you have it already. And like I said, if you have a smartphone, then you probably already have an app on your phone. So use it. So get busy. And here's another dilemma my patients have, is eating out. We try to do the purification in January because there's really not much going on in January. We've already had all our parties for the holiday. So for me, I try to encourage patients to prep ahead of time. So for instance, we had an event on the last weekend. I always take fresh guacamole that I make. I make it right in my NutriBullet, and then I use either carrot chips. I slice up carrots or zucchini, And I take that, and people, they start eating it like, oh, I never thought to use it with vegetables. So then I brought something, I can eat that, and then if there's something else that's available, I can always find something to eat, but I always try to bring something that I know I can have. So if I go to a restaurant, I try to select one that has food that I can eat. I mean, every place will serve you steamed vegetables and a piece of broiled chicken or roasted chicken. So you have access to all those things. Don't feel like you can't go out. I mean, I'm not telling you to go to a fast food restaurant, but there are restaurants that will gladly make you what you want. So when we travel, we always have a cooler of foods, you know, fresh fruits, sliced vegetables, and spring water always available. If we go to any social gathering, I always bring a dish, and anything that I can have on a purification, I bring, and most people don't know the difference. And another little secret I always tell patients, I always tell patients, you know, don't go, you know, talking about, oh, I have to have this because I'm on this, 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 and this. People don't really want to know that. They just see that you're getting better. When you're done, then you can tell them about it, because most people won't understand unless they're actually doing the program with you. And be creative. I mean, sweet roasted, this sweet potato, roasted veggies, asparagus fries, and quinoa. That was our dinner for the first night of the purification. For lunch, we had a spinach salad with peach, red onion, and basil salsa, and it was topped with blueberries. I mean, you can't go wrong with that. So be creative. It doesn't have to be just, you know, spinach and dressing. Be creative. Make it pretty. I'm a Libra, so I like everything to look pretty. So my refrigerator always has this stuff in it. Portobello mushrooms, Brussels sprouts. I mean, these are kind of my go-to things. And of course, you have to have kale. Kale, yeah. Because if you haven't had a massaged kale salad, you don't know what you're missing. So you just have to Google massaged kale salad, and you'll get a recipe for it, and you actually technically massage the kale with a little bit of olive oil, and it makes it fantastic. So these are all the things that I always carry in my refrigerator. So, you know, start making your list anew. So let's talk a little bit about heart health. And I just want you to understand that when we have excessive intake of refined carbohydrates, it's a major challenge to our heart health. And, you know, I've always, you know, you always hear how that saturated fats are bad for us, that, you know, cholesterol's our, you know, enemy number one. And we've been told for many, many years that, you know, to stay away from those foods like butter and eggs and meat because it can impact our heart health. Well, but what if it's wrong? Well, there was a, you know, for me, cholesterol is not the perpetrator. It's just found at the scene of the crime, but it's not the perpetrator. If you would read the book, The Great Cholesterol Myth, Dr. Stephen Sinatra, who's a cardiologist, who's been practicing for over 30 years, he wrote about that cholesterol doesn't impact the heart health. It's really the finger is being pointed at inflammation, and eating sugar is number one on top of that list. So the sugar causes the inflammation then will cause the cholesterol to rise. And we don't have time to go into the depth of all of the details of that, and we teach that to the doctors, but you know, do some soul searching there. Look online and find out. You'll get this copy of this. You can look up your resources down here at the bottom of each slide. So in place of that sugar, Dr. Sinatra advises to replace it with vegetables and fats. He also recommends adding some unsaturated fats such as nuts, avocados, fish, and olive oil. And if you look at this picture, I mean, it looks pretty tasty, and in all reality, with the exception of the cheese and the nuts and the coffee and the cream, everything else you can have on the purification program. So when you're off the purification program, this is kind of the way you'll steer. It's a far different look from the pyramid that we see put out by, you know, the government sources. And this is what would be more heart healthy for us. So when we talk about weight management, you know, we have to look at this picture here from April 2013. If you look at the 35% and higher, the darker states there, that's the percentage of that's the percentage of patients or people that are their BMI is over 30. And so we can see how it's just kind of grown. And if you remember last week when we went through those slides each week of how much of a difference it makes from 1991 to present, that this is a big issue in our society. And we have to understand that sugar drives both fat storage and makes the brain think it's hungry. It sets up this vicious cycle. we need to know that fructose is the component of two of the most popular sugars. One is table sugar, sucrose, and the other is high fructose corn syrup. High fructose corn syrup has become ubiquitous in soft drinks and many other of the processed foods. And you have to know that all carbohydrates are not created equal. And when we look at our carbohydrates, you want to look at the carbohydrate source and the sources in the fiber. Sources of healthy carbs, there'll be complex carbohydrates. They're found in vegetables, fruits, and your grains. And I know you can't have some of your grains on purification, but you will be when we're done. You know, they take longer for the body to process, so it helps to kind of stabilize the blood sugar. It also brings in fiber along with the energy source, and that also contains phytonutrients, minerals, and vitamins. And I'm always, harping on my patients, you want to eat foods that are nutrition-rich and fiber-dense. If you're doing that, you shouldn't have any problem with weight management. You should feel well all the time. And that's kind of what we're going to kind of move you toward after the end of the program, and after the end of the 21 days. So your sources of unhealthy carbohydrates, your simple carbohydrates, are found in highly processed foods like cookies, candies, white flour, pasta, chips, all those foods you were eating before you started last week. And they break down into sugar really fast, and they bring no fiber, so there's no fiber with the energy source. And remember, in our large intestine, where we have our immune system and our bacteria, good bacteria need a good fiber to feed the bacteria. So we have to have fiber in there. Plus, in the intestinal lining, we have these big outpouchings called haustra. And if the food is the simple carbohydrates, becomes like a flour or a paste and kind of sticks in those little outpouchings. Well, if we're eating a good fiber diet, then those big fibrous foods that we eat, the big broccoli and all those things, kind of come through and act like a little bulldozer and kind of clean out those haustra, kind of eliminating that buildup inside of our intestines. So we have less, gas. We have less, problems with digestion. So this will help to improve that. The healthier carbohydrates that you eat. I mean, it's no surprise what the complex carbohydrates foods are. I mean, look at the size of the list. And for me, if it's not making your mouth water, then you need another week of the purification. Then you'll understand. So, I mean, it's an unlimited, amount of carbohydrates that are in the complex category. And if we look at our simple carbohydrates, once again, that's a no-brainer. Table sugar, corn syrup, fruit juice, candy, cake, bread made with white flour, pasta made with white flour, soda, all baked goods made with white flour, most packaged cereals. So you've got to you've got to read your labels. So let's talk a little bit about sugars. And this is your Sugar Basics 101. So we have dextrose, fructose, and glucose. They're all monosaccharides. They're known as simple sugars. They usually are primary difference between them and how your body metabolizes them. Glucose and dextrose are essentially the same sugar. And you've got to watch your labels, because a lot of food manufacturers will hide the word sugar by using the term dextrose in their ingredient list. That's why I'm telling you these things. Glucose, it's the form of energy you were designed to run on. Every cell in your body needs that. Every living thing on this earth uses glucose for energy, and it's stored as glycogen inside your cells. During exercise, you burn that glucose, and you produce ATP, and then lactic acid, which is the waste product of your muscle working. Remember, I'm not teaching you to be a doctor. I'm just telling you these things. A disaccharide sucrose, the simple sugars can combine to form more complex sugars, like the disaccharide sucrose, which is table sugar. It's half glucose and half fructose. And then we have sugar alcohols. So those are xylitol, glycerol, sorbitol, maltol, mannitol, and erythritol. And these are all, they're not really sugars, but they're not really alcohols. But they're very popular as sweeteners. But they're not absorbed completely in your small intestine. So even though they provide a few calories and fewer calories in sugar, sometimes you'll have a little trouble with some bloating or some diarrhea or flatulence, and nobody wants that. Agave, be careful. It's advertised as natural, but it's highly processed, usually 80 to 90% fructose. And the end product never remotely looks like the original agave plant. And agave, really the only thing agave makes is tequila, so you can't have that on the purification. Honey, 53% fructose, great in its raw form, many healthy benefits when used in moderation, but you can't have it till after the purification. Whole leaf stevia powder, so if you want to use a sweetener, this is what you want to use on the rest of the purification and after. High fructose corn syrup. It's 55% fructose and 45% glucose. So I did kind of a running survey in my office over the years, and 73 grams per day is the typical patient consumption from sweetened drinks. 25% of those patients actually consume more than 130 grams of fructose per day. That is mind-boggling. And if I'm not drinking it and you're not drinking it, then somebody's drinking our share. So that's a lot of high fructose corn syrup. It has a contribution to the obesity. Your body also metabolizes fructose in a much different way than glucose, and the entire burden of that falls on your liver. The other reason why we're doing the purification program, your liver needs some support after drinking all the sodas over those years. So here's your little bit of homework here. Have you ever looked in your refrigerator or even in your cabinet? Look at these things. It's so surprising. If you look just in your refrigerator, pickles, relish, ketchup, salad dressing, syrups, juices, yogurts, even soda. If you look at it, you'll see on there high fructose corn syrup. And I was surprised when I started learning back in the day, and I thought, oh, I don't have anything, and I did. So here's your plan of action. Clean out your refrigerator. Let's start with refrigerator, 1 degree of change here, of all your high fructose corn syrup products. You want to provide carbohydrates that are nutrient-rich and fiber-dense. Wait 20 minutes before second serving. Start walking 10,000 steps a day, and then plan your meals for 3 days at a time, and then selecting recipes from the cookbook. And you just need to know that we are here to support you. So one of my favorite saying is, I do live in Florida and near the Space Coast. We have more wiring than the space shuttle, but we drive our bodies around like a garbage truck. So don't drive your body around like a garbage truck.